Support for Xavier mains and the Girlcott initiative that actually dented the revenue of Love and Deepspace last month of August in 2025. Welcome back, my fellow flowers and beach blossoms of Linkon. In this particular video, I am going to be discussing a very important post that stood out to me from Reddit. Actually, I had my eye on this post for quite some time, but I decided to wait until the end of the month once the Gacha revenue report came through to genuinely actually take a look and see how much the Gacha revenue would have dropped for Love and Deepspace. And I say that with confidence because I had a huge feeling that the revenue would drastically drop with all of the allegations and with all of the unanswered, the unanswered or the lack of communication or no communication when it comes to the King of Dark Knight situation of Xavier's third myth companion. So as usual, we will be taking to Reddit. Huge shout out and thanks to all of the lovely Redditors that post their opinions and thoughts for all of us to engage with and to really ponder upon. So let us begin, shall we? First of all, in the Gacha revenue chart, I have taken a screenshot of the top 5 highest grossing or highest paid or highest topped in the Gacha charts. And as usual, Love and Deepspace always manages to be within the top 5. This time, Love and Deepspace dropped all the way to rank 3 when they are usually either at the number 1 or number 2 spot. So as you can see, in the month of July, on the left-hand side is the July, revenue. Love and Deepspace had made about 68.5 million US dollars, and in August of 2025, they made 42 million. This is the lowest recorded Gacha revenue for Love and Deepspace since 2025 had, began. If you want to take a look at the past Gacha revenue charts, I remember very clearly that in February, during the Tomorrow's Catch 22 banner, which released in February of this year, the Gacha amount or revenue that they made in the month of February 2025 was 49.5 million or something like that. So the fact that it has now dropped to an all-time low of 42 million clearly shows that the Girlcott initiative, by all, whether it's combined, the majority of those, I'm sure, coming from the CN players, as well as the global players who support Xavier, I'm sure this is what has caused the large dent in revenue. So here is the post, support for Xavier girlies. I want to talk about a certain companion that is still bugged and has been swept under the rug for 1 month now, because I wanted to gather up votes from those of you who haven't spent since the whole ordeal and wanted to forward to the CN Xavier girlies to give them some comfort during this rough time or tough time. But the moment the post was up, it has to go through approval. So, I have to explain it like that. You all know what I'm talking about. Every upvote means a lot. And now this particular post, if you just search in Reddit, has got 1.9k views, or sorry, 1.9k upvotes, and it's almost closing in on 2k upvotes, which I'm sure this is just coming from the global player base, and that too not everybody uses Reddit. So I completely understand that there might be way more Xavier supporters out there that are just not on social media like that will definitely be in favor of this cause. But the fact that that the OP actually made this is very sweet, because it does provide a sense of compassion and support for the CN player base, because Xavier is hugely popular in CN. I love Xavier myself. Okay, even though I have my favorite guys, Xavier is also one of my favorites, and I absolutely love him. In fact, I'm always finding something new to fall in love with his character each and every single day. But as always, let us take to Reddit's comments section to see what people are saying about it in the post. This player said the KOD situation is unbelievable. I'm someone who loves collecting myth pairs and ranking them, but I'm very hesitant now to spend any saved diamonds on the next 3 myths. What if one of them ends up bugged as well and then swept under the rug? Like, what even was the point in adjusting the way KOD performs after releasing a PV showcasing his toolkit? I R3'd the King of Dark Knight, and I'm positive my spending on him was what finally pushed me to the VIP tier. But it feels so hollow knowing that my star boy is being shafted like this, absolutely. This other player says, keeping all future myths at R0 is also what I'll do going forward, unless that is told or shown otherwise by other battle fans. It seems like a waste of time and diamonds to even go past R0. To then which OP replied, the point was someone thought they would lose money if KOD was too OP or overpowered, which also leads me to think the Lemurian sea god is considered overpowered now, because that's their way of making up to the RAF girls for the ass God of Tides damage. Brackets, it is speculated. God of Tides received backlash earlier in the day too, confirmed. I wish I knew about all of these controversies before touching any of Infold's games. Then I wouldn't have sunk cost fallacy, which is the only reason preventing me from deleting Love and Deepspace. Another player said, yeah, it's kind of unreal, to be honest. Like, what do you mean you aren't fixing the companion that got you topping the Chinese charts even above Honor of Kings? And for those of you who don't know, Honor of Kings is like the highest grossing game in CN or in China, and that's always continuously topping the gacha revenue charts in CN, and especially when they have events. Previously, Love and Deepspace has never been able to beat Honor of Kings whenever Honor of Kings has had any event going on, any in-game event, I mean. So the fact that in July/August when Xavier's myth dropped, the fact that the CN players were able to even beat Honor of Kings is a tremendous and extremely revolutionary turning point in actually Love and Deepspace history to actually top that game. So that is why people need to be aware of how huge of a deal this is, and the fact that they aren't even addressing or choosing to send like a formal apology letter, to the fans. That is what is highly concerning and extremely disappointing. This player says, as a non-Xavier girly, you have my support. I don't think I'll rank Zane's myth, third new myth, because of this ordeal not being fixed since he's next. What guarantees that they'll not mess with all the future companions? We seriously need to do something about it. Then this comment reads, King of Dark Knight was the very first companion I finally had apart from the standard myth companions. I was so happy to finally have gotten a new companion, but unfortunately he was nerfed in the worst way possible and I'm still stuck in Senior Hunter contest stages despite having a Xavier's myth leveled up. It's honestly just disappointing, but I've learned to live with it. This player says, yeah, when King of Dark Knight was announced, I started to spend money on this game for the first time. Aurum Pass, Promise Pass, Purple Diamonds, the works and all of that. Seeing how the investment didn't pay off and the way Infold continues to stay silent about this issue, I stopped spending money. I have no qualms about spending money on games generally if it is well made and of good quality. But if the customer service doesn't give back, there will also be no customer. Facts. This player says, yeah, I'm frustrated. Last time I mentioned it in this sub, people downvoted like crazy. Wish we were all still talking about if they plan to fix it or not. Getting downvoted for a serious issue like this is honestly outrageously irritating, and I would also be very frustrated if a valid issue is being downvoted. Like what even? And I'm pretty sure this is coming from moderators of the subreddit who don't really want any negative comments or even any sort of criticism that is not really praising the company. Crazy to think about it, but this is the time or the era that we live in, I suppose. This player said, wow, did you really get downvoted? That's crazy. I find the global community on social media pretty scattered and not united enough, to be honest, but I get it. Logistically, we are always going to have a tougher time compared to the Chinese players or girlies. The language barrier, time differences, later upload time in servers, etc. But that doesn't mean that we should be that meek and complicit to unfair practices, yo. It's funny because out of YouTube, Instagram and Reddit, I don't touch Twitter, lol. I find Reddit to be the most critical. Maybe because the average age range is usually higher than the others. On Instagram, I remember the most liked comment during the Catch-22 banner protest was a comment defending Infold. On YouTube, there were so many positive comments about how the game was super generous on the diamonds that they give out for the wedding banner, even though they were actually based on the new orbit trials, which are ridiculously hard to win. Meanwhile, Reddit girlies were really critical at these two important points. But then I also heard multiple times now that the mods on the other Love and Deepspace subreddits were also mods affiliated with the company, which was why a lot of critical posts had been deleted. I genuinely don't know about that though. Infold has a large communication issue, just like in Infinity Nikki, so I really hope with the lawsuit they change their communication approach and fix the King of Dark Knight ASAP. He died on my Senior Hunter contest run and I was so pissed off, honestly. Next up, this player says, I'm still mad about this. The fact that I spent money on a buggy companion and how quiet Infold has been on the matter bothers me greatly. But I'm sad to say I'm not surprised at their silence since this company, Paper Games, had some poorly managed scandals in the past. That is Mr. Love Queen's Choice, their other game. And I was hoping that they would treat this game better. I came from Mr. Love Queen's Choice in hope that they would do better, and this situation has proven to me once again where their values and priorities remain. I've played much less now and I don't feel as excited about the game anymore. I was going to do a Love and Deepspace themed cake for my upcoming birthday, but I'm honestly disappointed with the game now. I won't be buying their official merch either. Then this player says, I have R1 King of Dark Knight and I'm quite advanced in the orbits, open orbit level 290 and light orbit 160. And I gotta tell you, the number of times Xavier died on me during combat is insane. Literally, he would be at full health, get smacked by the boss, and then he's dead. I either had to use a different companion like Lumiere, or if it's open orbit, I had to change to a completely different team that is fully Stalactrum matched for King of Dark Knight, but since he kept being unalived, I had to brute force the level with another love interest. What the hell? And finally, last but not least, this player says, I just wish this fandom would at least be lenient on people who are reminding the developers non-stop about this issue. Mind you, most of the posts are quite respectful, in my opinion, from what I have been reading on Reddit. Yes, there are a few rude and unreasonable people. I understand. I'm not trying to defend those people, but I am saying that the majority of the Xavier mains that are voicing their concerns and opinions for the developers to fix the issue are fairly nice, is what I'm saying. It doesn't matter if you don't care, just scroll past it and move on, they go on to say. No need to be harsh or rude to us Xavier mains or Xavier girlies. Absolutely. If you don't have anything nice to say, please just politely shut the fuck up. Do not say anything. There is no need for you to put your nose in a place where you clearly are not wanted if you are not going to be helpful in any way, shape, or form. So the Xavier mains or anybody who loves Xavier or loves to battle with him are obviously going to keep gently reminding Infold to honestly, get their act together. So I would, whatever, small platform that I have cultivated, I would always like to use it to, provide support and whatever compassion I can and bring awareness to these types of issues within the game. And I offer my sincerest, heartfelt support and compassion for all the Xavier mains out there. I stand beside you 110 million%, and I would keep advocating for Infold to get these issues to be fixed as much as possible. Hopefully someone from their team might even see this video and be like, okay, yeah, we need to just get our act together and fix it. So I hope that everybody, has a good time going forward in the future, and I do hope that they improve the myth companions, battle power, especially for King of Dark Knight, and even for any other myth companion in the past that might have been released, and any myth companions in the future that will get released, to please receive equal and fair treatment, or if they are bugged, at least get fixed. May Infold issue an actual apology at some point in time. I don't know if they will do it with Love and Deepspace, to be honest. They do apology letters for Infinity Nikki, but for some reason they don't do it for Love and Deepspace. I don't understand in which mindset they are living. I really don't get it. But here's to hoping that a positive wave of change can be brought out. Always remember to keep writing things in your surveys. Politely address it in Reddit if you would like to do so. I personally love Reddit. I do not really engage in any other social media platform that much as Reddit when it comes to this game. So here's to hoping everything goes well. I wish you endless good luck and super early pity on all your future pulls. Happy Zane Timber to all my fellow Jasmines and Snowflake Pixies and Miss Fairies out there. And for all of my Star Girls and, bunnies out there, justice for King of Dark Knight, justice for Xavier. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.